Hello, everybody, and it's so good to see you again. This is the Idea Networking session, and my name is Sharon Chaden-Burks. I'm a senior instructional designer at Sinclair Community College in Dayton, Ohio. Before that, I was an ESL teacher in higher education, so I taught international students English for 13 years before I made the transition into the world of learning and development and instructional design, and I have loved it. And I love sharing that enthusiasm for the transition with other people. I am so incredibly excited to bring you two new guest speakers tonight. We have Franck Herling and Sally Katzel, and they're going to be sharing their stories about how they moved from their previous careers into their current career. I encourage you to write down your questions for breakout rooms, as you'll have an opportunity to chat with either or both of them if you want to move in between rooms. And I think we're ready to just jump right in. I didn't ask for who wants to go first, but Franck, would you like to go first?
Sure, sure.
Okay, I'll get you spot.
Unless Sally, you want to go first, in case I would let you, but okay, perfect.
All good.
So, hi guys, my name is Frank. I'm an educational developer and instructional designer at HEC Montreal. Uh, Prior to that, I was in France. So tonight or today, depending on where you are located, I'm representing both France and Canada. Um, so I'm an educational developer at HEC Montreal. It's the business school that is affiliated to the University of Montreal. I've been there for the past 6 years, and prior to that, I was a French lecturer at a university in France. And I guess I did my transition to L&D very quickly because even though I loved teaching French, I've quickly realized that I love teaching, period. So it wasn't about the discipline itself, but it was more about instructional design, planning classes, facilitating discussion, interacting with students, and so on and so on. So it was more of a love of pedagogy itself regardless of the content basically I was covering. So I guess the transition was made very, very quickly. And so far in my position, I've got a chance to experience very different experiences thanks to the pandemic, which made things so much more challenging, interesting also. And I guess what's great and challenging with the work I'm doing is that I can say that one week is the same than the week before and the week after. So each day comes with new challenges and opportunities, and you get to interact with lots of in different instructors coming from different background, teaching different classes, and yeah. So that would kind of sum up the where I'm at today. And feel free to write any question you might have because I'm sure I've lost or forgot a lot of different things. And I also apologize in advance if I made some mistakes. English isn't my first language, so I hope I was able to convey it good.
One follow-up question for you, Franck.
Sure.
In your job, your current role, what are some key tasks that you end up doing? Do you do content design, content development? Uh, I'll just let you take it from there. How would you describe what you do?
Yeah. I guess I'm on a lot of different projects, and that's really, really good. But at the core of my work, I would say that I'm doing mostly designing learning workshops for instructors and also facilitating them. So the teaching aspect is very present in my daily work because even though I'm not having the pleasure to grade students, I'm being sarcastic here, but even though I'm not involving in those aspects, I get to teach and to facilitate workshops for our instructors in our school. And I did one prior today on class management. So this would be a big part of what I do. So doing it, I guess, designing workshop, but also facilitating it. And another part of my job would be more about content creating and developing resources that we would then use in our workshops. So that would be the two main area of my job.
Cool. Awesome. All right. I'm gonna get Sally over here. And Sally, you're free to start whenever you're ready.
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, Frank, I think you don't have to worry about your English language. I think because you're surrounded by teachers, and also Sharon was an ESL teacher, and I myself used to be an ESL teacher. So we're very forgiving of you. Don't worry. Um, and look, your English is far better than my French, so there you go. And thanks for that, Frank. It was really insightful. My career has been quite a long career because I'm not as young as some of you other people. I started my career in a call center and quickly moved into education in the call center area. So it was very much learning and development, onboarding staff, coaching and mentoring new call center staff, doing workshops with relation to things like customer service, sales, because it was an insurance kind of company. Then moved from there, from the sort of corporate world, into English as a second language, moved to Japan and lived there teaching English, came back and continued on for another 10 years teaching English to international students or adults in private language schools in Melbourne here in Australia. And I really loved that. That was fantastic. But over time, I think you get, I got a little bit tired of sort of the repetitive nature of the content. And even though there was different sort of themes that you could teach, so for example, exam English versus, communication English, I really wanted to have a new challenge. And even though English as a second language was my dream job, and I also knew that I was good at it, like I could do presentations very well and explain things to students and have a really good relationship with the learners. I needed a change. And during COVID, our school really shrunk down quite a lot. So I was working very part time, and I had the opportunity to move to the beach and move away from the city to the countryside. And I moved to a place called Gippsland, which is about a 3 hour drive or 3.5 hour drive from Melbourne, east of Melbourne. And I now live on the 90-mile beach. And because of that move, when the school started to kind of build back up again, I didn't want to go back to Melbourne. So I got a job close to home. And one of the biggest employers here is the local hospital. So I applied for an admin job here at Central Gippsland Health, and they rejected my offer, and they said, nope, sorry, we can't offer you this admin position, but we would like you to have this education and training position. And I said to them that even though I applied for the admin job and I had the interview, I was very clear in the interview that I'd had enough of presenting and doing training sessions and working really hard on assessments and trying to get attendees to come. It's a lot of hard work and I needed a break. They said, look, we promise you this one's going to be good. And it ended up being really, really good. I worked with all of the non-clinical staff in the hospital for about 2 years and looked after their training needs. During that process, I had the opportunity to, I work in the learning services department. So during that time, we were changing the LMS, the learning management system, from the old system to the new system. And I put my hand up to be on the project to do that. And during that time, I realized that there was a whole lot of e-learning courses that needed to be converted from the old platform to the new platform. I also identified that some of the old content that we had on the old LMS was not very professional looking. And I thought, oh, wow, look at these other products that instructional design companies are selling to us or have sold to us in the past. Looks amazing. So I did my very best to upskill. And during that time, I decided I did an okay job of some of the e-learning courses, but I started to realize that I really liked creating e-learning courses and making them interesting. And so I started watching the Devlin Peck YouTube channel to sort of build up my skills and learn how to teach myself how to use Articulate and Articulate Rise as well as Storyline. And so I did that. And then I ended up joining the Devlin Peck boot camp. And that really helped me to build up my skills and my confidence about my level of professionalism in my e-learning courses. So now in my day-to-day job, I've moved away from teaching or looking after the non-clinical staff to now I manage the learning management system for the whole hospital here, as well as develop e-learning courses for various subject matter experts. And I absolutely love it. I do that part-time. And in the meantime, I've also set up my own business called Sally's Learning Lab, where I create e-learning courses for usually small businesses that need e-learning courses done. That's it.
You've had quite a path, Sally. But it's funny,
Yes.
like just, like all of our stories start somewhere in language education, right?
Yeah, I've come to
Yeah.
realize it's a typical path. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and some people might I like pointing that out because sometimes I think it helps people to understand that it's not a specific kind of teacher that goes into this. I remember there was someone, I can't remember who in the past, but we had like a music teacher that got into it. Like it's just like you said, Frank, the love of pedagogy.
Yeah.
It's very transferable. So former high school science teacher. Excellent. Welcome. Hey, Heather. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Before we get going on our whole group Q&A, I want to share the registration link for our next session, which will be on Tuesday, December 3rd from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. So you can find the link in the chat and you can get signed up now. And if you are watching this at a later time, you can go back to the LinkedIn post, probably where you saw this, or the email that I sent, and register there. All right, so I'm just going to open it up for whole group Q&A. If you have a question you want to ask the group, feel free to unmute, or if you want to just put it in the chat, I'll read it.
I have one that could be helpful just for job seekers. Are there, aside from like this great weekly call, or not weekly, monthly call, do any of you have recommendations for like other networking groups, or like people to follow, on LinkedIn? I think LinkedIn is a big popular place for job searching. So I don't know if you had any places that you recommended for people to connect with.
Me, are you a former teacher?
Sorry, go ahead. Who is speaking? Who was that?
Sorry, that was me, Heather. She
Oh,
was just asking about organizations. And I just found out about one on a Devlin Peck podcast called Teaching: A Path to L&D. That's something you might want to look into.
Amy, do you know about that one?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Devlin Peck.
Yeah. Or the Teaching a Path to L&D.
I'm not with that specifically, but I need to go.
Oh, I
The
think I
reason I
remember
thought
that
of,
one.
oh, go ahead.
That one, pretty
Okay.
great. They actually, I haven't looked at them in some time, but they do have a couple of pages, last I know of, that were nicely set up with some different steps involved in getting into L&D and instructional design and what kinds of things you need to do. Like, okay, here are some of the different theories you need to learn. Here are things to think about in terms of building your portfolio and so on. So that one can be a useful resource.
They also do mock interviews, and I think they help review resumes and stuff too.
That group in particular, it was started by Sarah Stevick, and she's been on networking before. She was kind of one of the early teachers who made that transition and she started that group and she really nurtured it. I'm not sure how much involvement she has in it currently. I know she um, has changed jobs a couple times, and I'm not sure if she's still running the group. Maybe. Let's see it. Anyway, it's a really cool group. Another person I follow is Kara North. I'll type her name in the chat. She always does really good job postings. I want to say it's like almost every day of the week.
I'm glad you
She
brought that up
does.
because she was mentioned on the podcast as well, but I couldn't understand exactly how they were saying the name. And I'm like, how do you spell that? Who is that?
Yeah, I'll grab her information and put it in the chat too.
Yeah, and also maybe you're familiar with the Edu Fellowship. They do a lot of L&D speed mixer, so it's gathering, just very informal meeting where you get to interact and talk with other people in the L&D with L&D role. So I just put the link in the chat. Maybe that could be one.
Was that are you saying, what word were you saying?
Edu Fellowship.
Edu Fellowship.
Yeah. It's a guy named Brandon. I don't remember his last name, who's doing them. And once again, very informal, and it's a community where you can just, yeah, exactly. When you can just meet other people in L&D.
Someone asked in the chat if Kara North had a YouTube channel. She did. I am not sure if she is still creating content for it. It was called Learning Camel. And I thought I read a post from her in the last year where she said that she was stepping away from doing that. But let me see if I can find if she still has the content on YouTube. Other questions out there?
Any advice on transitioning in this very competitive job market?
Has anyone made a jump recently? Amy, did you get a job recently? Did I imagine that?
I got a consulting contract role. But I'm still looking for a full-time role.
Gotcha.
I'm on LinkedIn a lot, and people will recommend, oh, network, spend all your time networking, which I definitely agree that networking is really valuable, but I've had um success just cold applying too. So if you see roles you like, apply to them. Like, don't get scared off like, oh, I don't know anybody in the company, I'm not gonna hear from them. That I've had several interviews from cold applications.
Oh, I've been applying. I've only had one interview though.
I, I, I don't necessarily have any other tips except just keep going and just try to do a mix of what you can while you're trying to teach or do your other roles. Or I know you're subbing, but yeah,
Yeah, well,
apply,
that's why
network.
I went ahead and got, so it's now I'm a full-time sub. I was like a day-to-day, right? And so you don't have a consistent schedule. But I just got hired as a permanent sub. And so I'm like, well, this is what I'm going to do for now. And then I'm going to continue to try to work on, getting some ID, maybe freelance work or something just to get some experience.
I did find Kara's YouTube channel. It's called Unfiltered ID, and I put it in the chat. So if you want to take a look at that.
I just wanted to add something that I'm going to try to implement. Like someone from my program got a couple contracts, and he said that the way he got those contracts was it doesn't have to be the articulate e-learning heroes if you don't like have that. But he said he would post whenever he made something. Like I know that Sally was mentioning to like keep adding things to my portfolio, but like in addition to adding to his portfolio, he would post them on LinkedIn. And the two contracts he has are from people reaching out to him because they saw like what he posted on LinkedIn. So he's like, you might feel awkward, you might feel weird, but just like keep practicing and like posting it on LinkedIn. So I think I'm going to start trying that and see if I have more luck that way.
You mean in a post in the social feed, not necessarily in a section on your LinkedIn profile, right?
Right. Like he would do the weekly e-learning heroes challenges and then
Okay,
post what he created on like on his LinkedIn page.
gotcha. Cool.
I also go to like because I've started a business doing instructional design and it's like a startup. I've gone to a few local government startups. Now, I don't know what you have in your areas, but they have, you know, networking groups for startups. Now, a lot of those startups, it's just a great way to network. And I know we're talking about applying for actual jobs, but when I meet these people who have their own businesses or have sort of, you know, a networking event for local government business or local businesses in the area, they don't now, whenever they're thinking of an instructional designer, they're thinking of me because they don't know any other instructional designers. So they have their own businesses and they want to do an explainer video or they want to do education for their staff. You're the one who's there. You've already met them in a really low stakes environment when they're not really even looking. It's been very surprising actually that I've been going to those events to learn about how to start up a business, and what I've actually got is good people that I can contact in future, or they can contact me, you know.
Awesome.
And that's what I've been kind of looking at. Is I really would like to start with a small business or something just to get some experience before I start working for, you know, like a bigger company.
I think that's a really good idea. And I think what you could do is even, I don't know, like what the ethics are about free work and stuff, but like I do free work, you know, free work to get then my portfolio pieces that I post on LinkedIn or on my website, it's actually for someone real, not just an invention. So then you've got people that you're doing them a favor. The next time they come around for some other work, they're going to remember you, they're going to think of you. So yeah, I don't know how much did you have a real person in your boot camp, or like a real client? I'm not sure if you did. I didn't. I had to make up mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I did mine on lab safety because I was a science teacher and for me at least, we didn't go through any kind of training on conducting a lab with students or how to appropriately dispose of chemicals. And so I was my own subject matter expert for that.
Yeah. So, you know, maybe reaching out to a local business or like somebody that you know who has a small business that it wouldn't do any harm doing something for them. It's keeping your skills up. It's also keeping you practicing and getting faster at what you do because you want to get fast, right? So that when you do actually get paid in a paid job, you don't feel like an imposter, and B, you feel like you're working at a faster rate because you know where to click and all that kind of stuff. Because there's still, you know, you're always learning. So yeah, I would definitely do that offer to help people out.
How much time we spend on just what you said, Sally, knowing where to click. It's so much of the job in software is just knowing where do I navigate on this dashboard to accomplish the thing that I want to do. Yeah. All right, we are almost at the end. I can take one more quick question, or we can pause there. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah. In the chat, it says storyline was apparently built on a PowerPoint shell. Yeah, it looks like just PowerPoint on steroids.
Yeah, there's one of my team members in the boot camp used to teach a technology class, and she said that that's when she found out that Storyline was built on a PowerPoint shell. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. Then when I was learning how to use it, I was like, oh, this looks really familiar.
Yeah, where have I seen this before?
PowerPoint with extra bells and whistles.
Yeah, for sure. All right, all. That brings us right to the end. And I'm gonna, oh, I would almost always forget. Please provide me feedback if you want me to know what you thought about tonight's session. There's a form there. You can let me know your contact information, what is helpful for you, just any feedback you want to share. And thank you so much, Franck and Sally, for joining us tonight and sharing your expertise. It always makes such a difference when people take a little bit of time and share how they got to where they are, because it is totally possible if you're teaching and you want to make a change. It's possible to get in that field, and we're just so happy to help you on that journey. And thank you, everyone. And I hope to see you all back here December 3rd for our next session. I bet we'll have more people. And I'll see you then. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night.
Have a good night. Thank you, everybody.
Bye bye.
Thanks for sharing, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.